Retro.
Are you an aspiring Jedi, or do you dabble with the dark side of the Force?
Regardless of whether you fancy yourself a defender of the light or an aspiring Sith Lord, you're going to need a lightsaber.
Podcast Stardust is pleased to partner with Saber Masters, the creators of high-quality, durable, and affordable lightsabers.
Saber Masters is preparing to launch the Ultimate Lightsaber 2.0, and right now you can get 2 for the price of 1.
So, check out the link in our show notes and go get your Ultimate Lightsabers from Saber Masters.
And don't forget to use our referral code STARDUST to save $10 at checkout.
And each purchase using our referral code helps support Podcast Stardust.
Hi, this is Fred Tatasciore, and you're listening to Dennis and Jay on Podcast Stardust. The Force is strong with both of them.
Hello, and welcome to Podcast Stardust. This is the fully armed and operational podcast dedicated to Star Wars news, reviews, and discussion. I'm Dennis Keithley.
And I'm Jay Krebs.
And let's finish off this week strong with a look at some recent Star Wars news. But before we dive into the latest, Jay, and remind everybody what our social media contacts are.
Sure, no news here. We are always found on Facebook, Instagram, and X conveniently at Podcast Stardust.
All right, the dish is aligned, the signal is boosted to maximum output, the shield is down, we are now broadcasting to the galaxy. So our lead story is that Entertainment Weekly, EW.com, has some exclusive images from the upcoming series Star Wars Skeleton Crew, which are coming out this December. And so we got a look at some of our pirates that are going to be appearing in the show, and another look at Jude Law and the kids that are part of the cast there. So, Jay, we got this first image of the pirates. We've got Vane, who we know from Mandalorian Season 3. We've got our first look at Gunter, who is being played by Jaleel White, and he looks kind of cyborgish.
Mm-hmm.
There is Brutus. I think that species is called a Shistivian, maybe the wolf species.
That's what I would guess. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got Fred Tatasciore doing the voice, and the performance by Stephen O. Young. And then we've got Pax, who appears to be a Gran, being played by Mike Estes, and another character who's kind of on the fringe of the image, you can't really see, named Schult, being played by Dave Souls there. So what do you think of our pirate crew here?
Wow. I mean, this aesthetic is really kind of all over the place. You know, as I look at this, it's obviously, there's definitely some Star Wars elements to this that stick out right away. You know, I mean, you know, as far as the different alien species, and of course we know Vane from The Mandalorian. But I mean, really it gives off almost like a Mad Max kind of a vibe, you know, like those 80s. And again, you know, like the Goonies kind of thing. But I'm loving this. And I'm so excited that Fred Tatasciore is going to be doing the voice for this Brutus. I didn't know that. And so I'm super tickled for him for that. Because, you know, as you know, I got a chance to meet him in person. He's just a heck of a nice guy, and he did our bumper for us. But I'm loving the bandolier with all of the different guns.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like cracking me up there. I mean, you know, it's like, all right, we're gonna let you know that, you know, just have one weapon. We've got several that we're gonna pick from. So it'll be very interesting to see how this all plays out. But yeah, the aesthetic is crazy. It's crazy good. But what do you think?
Well, I like what you said about the Goonies vibe. We talked about that when we got the trailer not too long ago, or the you know, that footer, that imagery, and it was very much suburbia. That, you know, with manicured lawns and streets and characters walking down sidewalks type of stuff, and so that was interesting. And now you throw in the pirates on top of it, which that was Goonies. They were after a pirate's treasure right there. You mentioned the Mad Max vibe. I very much got a swashbuckling pirate vibe out of this with those guns. I mean, those are 1800, 1700 style pistols that they're using that I'm sure are going to shoot blaster bolts rather than little lead bullets of some sort.
Sure.
And so I really like the mix there of the Star Wars motif with that pirate motif that they got going on. I think this is fantastic. I really like the look of Jaleel White's character Gunter. That cyborg type thing is pretty cool. And then the Fred Tatasciore character as well. I think it's cool to see that species back here. And I'm just glad they're using traditional aliens in this.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Nothing really against the aliens that were created for Andor and stuff like that, but I like it when we go back to the well with Twi'leks and Mon Calamari and you name it, the Weequay and things like that. And so to have these traditional species out of A New Hope and Return of the Jedi is just fantastic. And mix some new ones in there if you want to. Just don't lean heavily into the new stuff. Let's get a mix of these things going
Oh
on.
yeah, for sure. Because the older, if you will, aliens, the ones that are kind of the tried and true species. I mean, that's the bread and butter of Star Wars. That's like our comfort food when it comes to alien species. So yeah, I'm glad to see it as well.
Yeah, and it makes that's the character that was the alien that was in Jabba's palace. I mean, you see those things
Right.
on there, and it's like, yes, fantastic. So,
Right.
that's really cool. Okay, second image we've got is of Jude Law as Jod Nod Nawud. That's so hard to say. You can't say it fast, or at least I can't. And he's in the foreground. He also is got one of these pistols on his belt. And then the kids are in the background there, and their names escape me at the moment. But what do you think of him in this one? He's also kind of got this scoundrel swashbuckling vibe about him.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, talk about space pirates, 101 here. That's definitely what this is looking like, especially with that overcoat that he
Mm-hmm.
has, with the way that some of the leather trim and the tunic that he's wearing with the V-neck and the gloves and the whole 9 yards. Yeah, this particular pistol definitely, I guess looking back at the other one, it does look very similar in style than
Mm-hmm.
the ones that were on the bandolier, but this one definitely looks a lot more historical in nature. But I love the perspective of this picture
Mm-hmm.
because you see Jude Law's character, as you said, Jod Nanawood, maybe is that how you might say it?
I said Jod Nod Nawud. Yeah.
There you
So
go.
yeah.
So, but I love the fact that he is in the forefront and that's what the image focuses on. But the kids in the background, you could obviously very well tell that that's who they are,
Mm-hmm.
but they are blurred out. So it's just this really cool perspective. And you know that they're on some kind of, a loading ramp or a boarding ramp to a ship because you can see one of the boosters off to the side.
Yeah, no doubt. And if you go to Entertainment Weekly, it credits the kids in that picture as well. So you're right. There's no doubt that is in fact them. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I mean, this image just kind of makes me question whether Jod here is actually a Jedi or not.
Hmm.
The rumors and the reports have been for months since Celebration, the last Celebration, that when they showed some image that he was supposed to be some sort of a Jedi, and then the teaser showed the keys like floating to him, like he was using the Force or something like that. But
Hmm.
I, knowing nothing else, I just can't keep wondering: is he really a Jedi, or is he pulling some sort of a trick? Kind of like, what was the character from Obi-Wan Kenobi was doing? With
Oh, yeah, trying to get, people to give him money to get them
right,
safe and whatnot.
yeah,
Yeah, I can't remember his character's name right off the top of my head either.
yeah. But so there's that vibe, and I hope they're just not repeating that because
Right.
see something new, but it's too early to tell. So
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and he could just be, undercover and trying to hide out as well. So, maybe
indeed.
not trying to look like a Jedi.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, again, that will be coming to Disney Plus, I believe, with a 2-episode premiere on December 3rd. But in other Disney Plus Star Wars news, we have a 24/7 always on live streaming channel coming to Disney Plus that will feature Star Wars and Marvel content amongst other action content from Disney. They announced via Bloomberg, they being Disney, that for the streaming service Disney Plus, they are going to have 4 new always on live streaming channels. One for real life, another for HalloStream. I don't even know what that means. A third channel for throwbacks, which I'm assuming is retro older stuff, And then fourth one is called The Hits and Heroes, which has been described as featuring, like I said, Star Wars and Marvel, along with other action content. So it'll be available to premium subscribers. So that's those that have the no advertisement tier of Disney Plus. They will refresh the content on a monthly basis. And we talked about this previously in the news, that there was some discussion that this was coming to Disney Plus, and it's been inspired by these always on dedicated channels that you can get through Tubi or Pluto TV. We don't know exactly when this is coming, but it's expected to arrive sometime this fall. So what do you think about this?
Well, it's really interesting choice of, where to go with their programming. But
Mm-hmm.
just real quick note, Hallowstream is all Halloween based stuff. So you're talking
Interesting.
about like Hocus Pocus and, all the things like that, Nightmare Before Christmas, that kind of stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so when they say always on though, are we talking about something like an FX channel where you just tune in and it just happens to be whatever is playing at the time, so you can't choose what you're watching?
Right. So this is
Okay.
not going to replace your ability to watch any of the Star Wars or Marvel content that's on Disney Plus. What it is that and I find myself falling into this. It's like, I don't want to choose something to watch. I just want to turn on the TV and veg out.
Mhm.
And that's what you can do with Tubi and Pluto TV. They have these
Right.
dedicated channels to certain topics, and you just turn them on and you watch. You don't make
Okay.
choices and that type of
Okay.
thing.
Mhm.
And they've done extremely well for those two outlets. And
Okay.
so Disney is hopping onto that by providing this, because I found out, I was like, I want to watch a movie, and then I turn on Disney Plus. I was like, well, do I want Star Wars? Do I want to watch Pirates of the
Yeah.
Caribbean? Do I watch Marvel? Indiana Jones, whatever. And then, 20 minutes later, like, I still haven't picked anything. And so
Right.
having channels like this I can just put on, and then I know I'm likely going to enjoy whatever's there, is kind of appealing. Again, I wouldn't want this solely in place of those things, but since it is an addition, it seems kind of cool.
Right. And what's really striking to me about this whole thing is just the fact that we were talking about this not too long ago
Hmm.
with how a lot of the pendulum of the way that we consume our television is starting to kind of swing back the other way,
Hmm.
And so I think for a lot of people, you're absolutely right. I mean, sometimes, I know my husband and I do this too. We think about, oh, do we want to start a new series? And then we sit there and we look through everything for like an hour and then we don't decide,
Right.
like we still haven't reached any kind of decision. But yeah, you're absolutely right. The whole thing where you just turn it on, you can just veg and this is what you get. It's kind of like the whole thing, sometimes it's nice to have the Baskin Robbins flavors, but then again, it's
Hmm.
nice to just have your Neapolitan choices as well, and because sometimes you get overloaded with choices.
Yeah. There's some days you don't want to invest your attention in a new series.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
it's nice to have something you're familiar with in the
Yeah.
background,
Mhm.
so that you can, I can look down at my phone and mess around. I can look up and watch the TV, or, and not feel like I missed anything because I've seen this episode before. And the other thing is there's always the potential that, some of the other content on here will snag your interest, and then you may want to go check it out on
Sure.
demand when it
Mhm.
gets to it. So,
Yep.
yeah, I'm looking forward to this. So, again, that'll be coming out sometime this fall, or so we're told.
Cool.
All right. Well, let's switch over to the High Republic and some book news. We have an excerpt from Tears of the Nameless, which is the next young adult novel coming from George Mann. This book will feature the return of Jedi Master Comac Vitus, who was formerly, I should say, the adoptive Jedi Master for Reese Silas. And the book also will feature Reese Silas dealing with Comac's departure, along with his work with Aslan Rel, who was the Jedi from Phase 2 that fell to the dark side and is now working with the Jedi, I should say, to figure out how to combat the Nameless here. And we've also been told that we are going to be introduced to a new Jedi Master named Eve Beer, who is described as British and prim and proper, and kind of exhibits a lot of the noble traits of the Jedi here. So beyond those descriptions, we get this excerpt and it focuses on Comac, and he's thinking about how he left the Jedi not because he lost faith in his friends or the Order, but he lost faith in his beliefs. And the terrors of the war with the Nile have been influencing him, and he kind of laments that people like Orla Jarini are no longer around to help him navigate through this. And kind of forgot how close he was with Orla, that those two were friends. But we got a lot of that in the young adult book that Daniel Jose Older wrote back in, I think that was Midnight Horizon, back in phase 1. So what'd you think about all these reveals in this excerpt that we got here?
Well, I'm really excited actually for to see how this all plays out. And I really like the description of this new Jedi Knight that we get that you had mentioned. And her name is now escaping me.
Eve Byer.
Eve Byer, yes.
Yeah.
And she kind of reminds me of myself. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not British, but I'm kind of one of those kind of people.
Wait,
that
you're not British?
No.
No.
I'm not, but well, you caught me. I'm sorry. I am from across the pond, but we don't tell anyone. But in all honesty, at my job, I feel like I'm like that. I kind of I think we all do. We uphold a really high standard of what our integrity is, but yet they also describe her as having this dry sense of humor and that type of thing. So I was like, all right, this is a character I can get on board with. Like, I can identify with this person. But, as far as Comac is concerned, I mean, I understand that his whole MO is to try to figure out what's going on with the Nameless. And as I read the excerpt, you can really feel for him and that he's really struggling with this. And it's something that's really kind of haunting him in a lot of different ways. But part of me wonders if he really felt that awful about everything that happened, then why didn't he just take the Barash vow? You know what I mean? Or is it just because he did feel like he had a purpose in figuring out the whole Nameless thing?
I think it's because the Barash vow is more of a penance than anything. And I'm not so certain he needed to remove himself from the direction of the Jedi Order and the dictates of the Jedi Council because he felt like he'd done something counter to that, as opposed to he just needed to remove himself from the Jedi Order because his belief was shaken. Those that take the Barash vow don't necessarily have their belief shaken. It's that they've done something against the dictates of the Order. And so again, it's a penance, and I'm not sure he really needed to pay a penance. I think, we've seen what Orla Jarini was able to do for Elzar Mann. And even though she's gone, Elzar is still influenced by what she was able to help him with. And so, and we also saw how Vernestra Rowe kind of went off on her own a little bit earlier in phase 3 to kind of get away from the Jedi and come to terms with what happened with Starlight Beacon. So he just took it to one more step further. He just left the Order altogether. And so now he's kind of, it sounds like he's going to come back and work with them in some capacity. Whether he's going to rejoin the Order or not remains to be seen on that. But again, it's not, I'm trying to think, like when Barash created this vow back in the comics that Charles Soule wrote, it's because she didn't trust in the Force. And she lost her way there, and she needed to make a penance for that because of the troubles it caused. I can't think of the name of the nobles there on that planet, but she let things blind her, and so she needed to create some sort of a penance in order to overcome that. And he's not quite there yet. But every Jedi who screws up, the answer isn't necessarily the Barash vow. It is an option for someone.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Because I looked it up before we started recording because I wanted to refresh my memory too about the whole history of that. Because since it's so new, but yet it's not, we're just seeing it kind of coming out into these little tendrils of storytelling. And I was actually surprised to see that Obi-Wan Kenobi was listed as one, in Wikipedia, to have in some ways taken the vow because he was isolated on Tatooine and some of the things that he was putting himself through. I know, and I had never heard of that one before, so I don't know, like Wikipedia of course is not StarWars.com, so it's not the data bank, but we've typically counted on it for pretty reliable information.
Yeah, I'd have to go check it out and see what their source is for that. I guess what puzzles me about that is that, again, what penance is he paying there? There is no Jedi Council to set himself apart from because the Jedi have been decimated. Yoda puts himself in exile on Dagobah, so that he can be on the ready, to help the Jedi return, stuff like that. And Obi-Wan is serving a mission in that regard that he and Yoda agreed to on this.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, that's an interesting interpretation. I'd have to go back and check the source and see the reasoning for that one, because I don't
Yeah.
know that I agree that's actually what he was doing.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, the
yeah.
only thing it says is and I'll just read it right off of Wikipedia. It says Obi-Wan Kenobi took and kept to the ways of the vow during the years of his exile on Tatooine until leaving the planet to heed Princess Leia Organa's call for aid with his former apprentice's son, Luke Skywalker. So that's all it says.
Huh.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, but getting back to this, I'm very excited for this. And you can kind of tell, I mean, not to put it, this is not putting it down in any way, shape, or form, but you can tell that it's a young adult novel just
Hmm.
from the way that it's worded,
Sure.
which is good in a lot of ways because sometimes some of the dialogue and the exposition, especially with the adult novels, can be a little overwhelming. So
Right.
it's going to be nice to be able to step back and be able to consume something that I don't have to think about quite as much, maybe. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like it's all laid out right there for us.
Well, and I like George Mann's work too.
Oh, for
So
sure.
I
Yeah.
like what he did. He came on board the High Republic in Phase 2 and put out some good content. So I'm excited for this one as well.
Mhm.
He ranks up there for me amongst the High Republic authors. So I can't wait
Mhm.
to see what happens here. I really want to see his take on Rhys Silas. I think he'll do really well
Yes.
by that character. And Rhys has been such a background character for Phase 3. I'm just
Yeah.
really happy to have him back in this one. It sounds like he's going to be much more of a central character to this book, because he's just kind of been mentioned here and there, but he hasn't really had much attention so far in Phase 3. And he
Mhm.
was very important to Phase 1. So,
Mhm. Definitely. Yeah, I'm with you.
okay. All right. Well, drifting into some other news, Ewan McGregor got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame back on September 12th. Coincidentally, it happens to be near Carrie Fisher's star, so he gets to
Aw.
reunite in a way with another Star Wars luminary. There was a number of people. His family was all there. Some really cool pictures if you go online and find them of them all celebrating around the star. It's pretty cool. Hayden Christensen was one of the presenters there, and I loved what Hayden had to say
Oh,
about.
yeah.
Oh, it's really cool. I got the quotes here. He said, "Ewan McGregor is one of our great actors, and in my opinion, the coolest person on the planet. Hard to argue with that. It was immediately apparent to me that I was meeting someone truly special, and not just as an actor, but as a person. I was meeting a friend who would later go on to chop off both my legs and leave me for dead on the side of a volcano."
Love that.
Yeah. And then he would go on to say, to watch him embody this character, it's like watching magic. The kind that really makes you believe in something bigger. He wasn't just playing Obi-Wan. He was Obi-Wan. He is Obi-Wan. I want to thank you for being the best Jedi Master that anyone could have ever hoped for. I love you, brother. So that was just so cool to see. I watched the video of that presentation and ended with a big hug between Ewan and Hayden. And we found out recently through the Obi-Wan Kenobi stuff and what they did at Celebration and behind the scenes things, just how much they mean to each other, and how much their friendship was able to pick up after they hadn't seen each other for so many years.
Oh, yeah, and those 2, they are just so great to watch, honestly, together, and I did turn on the YouTube, footage of it after it was on. I missed it the day that it was actually happening, but it was just so heartwarming, and I'm so happy for him. I really am. And what's interesting too is I was thinking about when we were talking about, the unfortunate passing of James Earl Jones just recently and how, he had received the EGOT. I'm
Hmm.
wondering if Ewan is on his way to doing that because he's been around the block. I mean, I know that he did some work, like he had an Emmy for Halston, I believe, and then I don't know if he got anything for a Tony for Moulin Rouge. 'Cause I think he did that. I know it was motion picture, but did he do that on stage as well? He is so super talented, and I just rewatched the live version of, Beauty and the Beast too with him as Lumiere. So, I don't know. I mean, I think that if somebody is bound to do that, I would think that he would be one to deserve it at least. I don't know, he's super talented. Do you know anything about any of the awards that he's actually received? I know
I'm
Trainspotting is another one that I think he's probably won something for.
Train Spot's what put him on the map
Yeah.
there. And I'm looking at his wiki, not his Wikipedia, his Wikipedia page to see if it tells us see, awards and nominations. What has he got? Ewan McGregor was appointed by the French government as a Chevalier de l'Ordre des Arts et Lettres, Knight of the Order of the Arts and Letters. And he was appointed an officer of the Order of the British Empire in 2013, but they're at least not listing any Oscars, Emmys, Tonys, or Grammys for him
Okay.
here.
Okay.
That doesn't mean he didn't have it. They're just not listing him on those Wikipedia
Yeah.
page.
I thought he got one for Halston, but I could be wrong. But at any rate, so deserving to get a star on the Walk of Fame. I would love it if Hayden would as well, because when they introduced Hayden, not to take any shine away from Ewan, but when they introduced Hayden, there's so many things that he's done as well. I mean, all the way back to Jumper and Life as a House, and just so many different works that he's worked on as well.
Yeah. I think Ewan has got a long career, and so I think he's more in a position someday to potentially earn something like an honorary Oscar or something like that if he doesn't get awarded one for a particular role. Hayden, as of yet, he took a break. He took a long break from acting, which I
Yes,
think
he
has kind of
did.
stunted his chances of doing anything like that. That's not to say that he can't, because there's been reports that he's with another agency now and he's looking for more work, and I think he's gotten some other roles out there. But so again, that's not to say that he can't eventually get those things, but he is uh, uh, he's just a bit behind where Ewan is. Ewan's also
Mhm.
younger, so
Mhm. Mhm.
okay. So I am looking at Ewan McGregor's IMDb page, and it has him listed as having won an Emmy. So there's that. He's won a BAFTA award. He's been nominated a couple other times. Um, let's see. I'm trying to see what else he's got. This is really great podcasting. We're doing all of our research here on the fly. But he won the Emmy in 2021 for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Limited Anthology Series or Movie for Halston. Okay, that's
Okay.
what you were saying there.
Yep.
And
He's so
then
good in that. Oh my gosh. Have you seen that one?
no, I have not. As a matter
Oh,
of fact,
so good. Well, you know me in fashion, so.
right. Well, that just hadn't been on my radar. So yeah, but I'm looking through. He's been nominated a lot of times for the Screen Actors Guild and stuff like that. I'm not seeing any Academy Award nominations here,
Okay.
but I'm also going to not spend any more time scrolling down this
Sure.
page. So,
That's
but
fair.
it was fun to see him get that recognition.
Oh, heck
We've talked
yeah.
about what it takes to get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in the past, and it's a campaign, and then there's money that has to be raised, and Liam Hemsworth just got, or not Liam, Chris Hemsworth got his recently, which is pretty cool as well. And a
Mhm.
lot of the crew, or Robert Downey Jr. was there as one of the presenters, and that was fun.
That was
Um,
fantastic. Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, again, congratulations to Ewan McGregor.
Yeah.
So this is uh, this was just a cool story that I had to talk about for a minute. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but um, Polaris Dawn mission specialist Sarah Gillis, who is an astronaut and has gone into space and done the first live recording of a song on the violin, and she just happened to pick Ray's theme, which she then recorded with youth musicians all around the world
Yeah.
via the satellite. I'm gonna get this messed up, but the Starlink system there, and she played it on a custom violin. And she's a SpaceX engineer that turned astronaut. And yeah, she did it on board the Dragon spacecraft. She's in no gravity, so her hair is going all over the place.
Right.
But it's this crystal clear performance that she did, and then we get all these shots. If you go to, you can find this on YouTube, and of her playing with these musicians, like from the United States, from I think Brazil, Venezuela, various places in Europe, and the like. And that was just fun to watch. It was really cool.
Yeah, I have to say this gave me chills. It was
Hmm.
absolutely outstanding, and you're right. I mean, it was so funny because she's got really long curly hair, and so you just see, her hair just kind of going all over the place in the anti-grav. But I mean, she was just you could just tell that this was just something that she absolutely just put her whole soul into, because she was closing her eyes and just getting into the music. And then as you said, they would go to different places around the globe, and then they would show a little, like a graphic, and then show
Hmm.
like Brazil, and then Switzerland, and then the strings of Boston. These youth choirs, and I think Uganda was even one of them. And I thought, how stinking cool is this? That Star Wars music literally brings the world together, not only on Earth, but in space as well. And I don't know. I just think that this is the one of the coolest things I've ever seen when it comes to that. And then there was even, did I catch John Williams
I
watching
was
this?
wondering if that was him
I
because
think it was.
yeah, I think it might have been because he's certainly not a youth musician.
Right.
But and I didn't know if he was a conductor or what was going on, or if he just was watching it because he doesn't. He writes a lot of music, but he doesn't necessarily conduct the orchestra that's recording it now
Sure.
for
Uh-huh.
things like that. So he may have been there just there observing, but that was pretty cool. And then furthermore, she did all this to help raise support for music education.
Yes.
And it's funny, the article I read said for music education back on Earth, as opposed
Right.
to on the International Space Station or something. But
Yeah.
it was yeah. I'm going to try and remember to put a link to this on the show notes for this. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's
Oh,
definitely worth
yeah.
it.
So fantastic. And then at the very end too, I caught a couple of things. It kind of went by really quickly, but the St. Jude's
Hmm.
icon came up as well. So I'm wondering if there's some relationship to, raising money for that as well, because that's a children's foundation.
Yeah.
So yeah, so very cool. Very, very cool.
All right. All right. The last story we have both kind of confirms something that we wanted to know and confirms something that I didn't want to hear. And if I'm being coy, we found out that the next Star Wars Jedi game is in fact happening, but it is also the last game in the Star Wars Jedi franchise. So we know this game is coming at some point from Electronic Arts and Respawn, but at a company investor relations day for Electronic Arts, the president of the company, Entertainment Technology, her name is Laura Mile. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Announced again that they're working on this, and she was touting their success, but then she also confirmed that this will be the final game in the trilogy. So, yeah, and that's all we know. We don't know what the story's about. We don't know when it's coming out. I would not expect it before late 2026 at the earliest.
Mhm.
But those games are so cool and so much fun to play, but it is rather disappointing to hear that that will be the last one.
Yeah, a little bittersweet, but
Mhm.
I mean, if you read between the lines a little bit, it says the last one in the trilogy,
Mhm.
which Star Wars is known for its trilogies. And we thought Return of the Jedi was going to be the last Star Wars, and then we thought Revenge of the Sith was going to be the last Star Wars, and then we, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Rise of Skywalker. So maybe that this will put the cap on this particular story arc, but that doesn't mean that maybe we'll see the last of Cal Kestis. You know?
Sure. And there's been some teases that there might be some sort of a large Cal Kestis coming at some point in a show or whatever. And there's always that possibility.
Yes, please.
It could also mean that, to your point, it is the end of Cal Kestis' story, and there may be another game featuring on another Jedi. After Jedi Survivor, we were discussing, what could they do with a third game?
Mhm.
And some of the things we talked about as well, you get to custom make your own Jedi, or maybe Cal trains. I can't remember what the little girl's name is, and
Mhm. Yep.
and
Bo Tuna's daughter?
yeah, and so
Yes. I
maybe
couldn't
they
think of her
train
either.
her, and then she becomes a character. So maybe there's a story to follow there, or maybe there's a jump forward in time, and then we're following some other related character, and maybe Cal's around as a mentor or something like that, but just not as a
Mhm.
player character. So all kinds of different things that they could do if they wanted to continue the gameplay. But maybe they just want to, again, maybe they just want to shift gears into something else and pick up a different genre to tell their next Star Wars video game in. But, you know, uh, we got a lot of nostalgia. We've been very fond of them, but these
Mhm.
things, as there's been advancements in games, it could be that the audience just moves on at some point.
Sure.
Hard to say.
Mhm. Yep, no, those are all really good points, but
Hmm.
it's just so exciting that we're getting this 3rd one, and like you
Hmm.
said, we figured that we would, and there have been little hints here and there, but it's nice to get a little bit more of a confirmation.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, then, it was good to have a robust set of news to talk about this week. We've
Yeah.
been kind of in a drought as of
Mhm.
lately, and we're able to get a full episode out of this, so that was fantastic. And it was also fantastic that you all were here to join us for it, and I hope you did enjoy it, as a matter of fact. And if you haven't done so already, I keep hearing this on a lot of podcasts I listen to, that a lot of people don't actually subscribe to their podcasts. They just look up and download new
Hmm.
episodes as they come up. So we would greatly appreciate if you would go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. That helps us out with the algorithms and making people discover shows that they might be interested in, especially in the Star Wars market, because it is a crowded genre of podcasting. And but again, you can find our entire catalog of shows beyond the 1 or 200 that are likely to be on your podcatcher if you go over to retrozat.com. And while you're there, you'll find a bunch of other great podcasts covering a whole bunch of different topics. There's Enjoy Stuff, Doomcast, Dork Lair, Love, Death, and Robots Plus, Superhero Suite, Warp Trails if you're into Star Trek, Brews and Blasters, some old episodes of that there, Anime Cast, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. case files. So lots to enjoy over at retrozap.com. In addition to subscribing to the show, we thrive on your ratings and reviews. So if you haven't done so already, we'd love it if you could head over to your podcatcher choice, especially if it's Apple Podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating and a written review, and we'll try and feature those on the show when we discover them. So again, we really appreciate that. And then, of course, word of mouth, whether that's you telling a friend or sharing episodes of the show on social media. Those are also extremely meaningful to us. So with all these things in mind, Jay, you want to go ahead and remind everybody what those social media contacts are and where else we have set up shop on the internet?
Absolutely. And you did such a great job of letting everybody know where they can find us. And you mentioned YouTube, and we do have two different YouTube outlets. So we have the traditional YouTube as well as YouTube Music. And if you do subscribe to that, it really helps us out, because I just recently found out if we get 100,000 subs, then we get a plaque. So we'd really love to have that plaque, to be able to say that. But then we also have our Pinterest boards that has all kinds of fun ideas for everything Star Wars. And if you want to catch us in real time, you can do that on our Discord room. And the link to that is in our show notes. And while you're there, as Dennis was just saying, there's tons of other RetroZap shows on that Discord server as well. So chances are you'll find a fun room to go in and talk some fun geekery kinds of things. And if you are in need of a swag refresh, we do have a TeePublic store, and you can pick from one of 7 different show logo designs that are available on tons of different products. So we have t-shirts, sweatshirts, coffee mugs, home goods, everything in between. So if you're interested in that, once again, the link to that will be in our show notes, and that definitely helps us out. And another way that you can help us out is by hitting us up through our Saber Masters referral. So Saber Masters is a company that puts out high quality battle ready lightsabers. And right now they're having a 2-for-1 deal on their, what's the name of that saber? Oh, shoot.
The Ultimate Saber, Lightsaber
Okay.
2.0.
They are having a 2-for-1 deal on their Ultimate Lightsaber 2.0. And so if you do pick that up, you can also save an extra $10 by putting in the code Stardust at checkout. And that's a win-win, because it helps you and it also helps us. So once again, you can go to sabermasters.com, or again, hit up that link in our show notes.
All right. Jay, I know this is a big weekend in cosplay for you, so why don't you fill everybody in on what's going on?
Ooh, yeah, very exciting weekend. So when this comes out, I will be heading to Cleveland for the Cleveland Gaming Classic. So this will be the second year in a row that I will be a featured cosplayer there. So I will have my own table, and I'm going to have tons of fun judging the cosplay contest on Saturday, and anybody can get in on that, and also selling bunches of merch, hopefully. And then on Sunday, I'll be participating in a fun little cosplay game show called Wrong Answers Only. And so if you are in the Cleveland area, stop by the IX Center and you'll have a heck of a lot of fun. And I also have some other things coming up as well in October. And so as those dates get a little bit closer, I will fill everybody in on that. But until then, hit me up on my Instagram, which is at j.snipscosplay.
All right. So upcoming on the show, Monday, we are taking a break from the Clone Wars rewatch to discuss Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, which just came out a week ago. And then on Wednesday, it is the next installment of The Phantom Menace series, celebrating the movie's 25th anniversary. All right. Well, thanks for listening to episode 784 of Podcast Stardust, everyone. Have a great weekend. And until next time, may the Force be